for illumined life to be birthed into form. I am the truth. I am the light. Illumined, beloved divine.
So hello there everyone, and welcome to this video with me here today. I'm laughing because I'm in a spot. I'm actually at a spot around my house, around our house, and it's where I created this elven fire space and a white spiral, and the fire is surrounded with elven symbols, and I share this on my Telegram community channel. So the energies are off the charts today. People are everywhere because it's such a beautiful day. Everyone's going here to watch the white daffodils, which are famous for this area, excluded only, VIP. And there's loud music playing and people are joyful and having fun and laughing, and it's just such a good day. One other thing, what's happening is there's these waves of pollen coming from fir trees and the plants, and all the other trees, and it's amazing. I've never seen it like that, how it travels with the winds, and it's like golden light curtain just moving through the landscape. It's just phenomenal. And it's truly such a good setting for me to do a mini video. It's going to be a shorter video today, just a mini sharing and an update about the energy of this eclipse and the potential of this eclipse for the beloved journey. This is all about the beloved now. We've talked about how the aim, the solemn, the goal objective of the Illumined team now is the union. Divine beloved union. And it's really my favorite, not just topic, but life experience, and I want to share some of my own with you as well today. But the energy of this eclipse, like I said, it's so off the charts. In this last 2 days, I don't know, I've just been experiencing a powerful shift, and I want to talk about this. But there's such huge potency, and it's no wonder today I don't actually follow the moon phases, but I checked which sign this eclipse is in, and it's in Scorpio. So no wonder that we have such a powerful and potent transformation happening for many. But the first thing I want to share is that there's a group movement now of all the star beings, because my channel is dedicated to all of your star beings, whether you know it or not. There's a longing for you to be a newer, brighter, higher self than you were or your experience was until this point in time. And we've all had different experiences, and all of you here watching my videos, you were all in a way incepted and transgressed on your own level. That's why there was a difficulty in living a completely authentic life of a golden one, being truly golden and sparkly and authentic. And you might think that I myself don't have these issues as Aurea, or firstborn, first child of Aurea here, and Aurea for me is the spirit mother. She's so close to God because she's one of firstborn in God, like first creation angels that came into being, and that's what God showed to me years ago. But as a human, as Polona Aurea, right, I have my own challenges. So the last video was pretty deep because I again touched the topic of physical ascension. But in a way, why this is so important, right, and I've talked about this perspective, is that when the moment you think that any day can be it, and that we don't know how collectively we would shift. None of us knows. I always say about myself that I always know what I know, but the things I don't know, I don't brag about because I don't know them. Because that part is left for the mystery, for the human to experience. And that same thing goes for the beloved journey. It is a mysterious experience. It is a mystical experience. But what's happening now for us as a collective of group beings, and I've talked to many people in the last few days, especially those who I call my children, like Aurea's children, those who are my next of kin, who are very close to me, these soul beings who are just yummy souls. And it feels like what I felt in my heart when I tuned into the energy, that we're all moving through this wave of the last transgression leftovers that kept us binded. And with this old stuck inception ideas about ourselves, about our reality, that still tie us to something that's not really for us, that's not for our soul. Whether it is a person, a job, an institution, a belief, an ideology, just a perception of yourself. what's happening now is the last layovers of this energy are almost being pulled. And I just saw this because I was almost about to record, and my mom goes like, no, watch the clouds of pollen, how it moves. And I'm watching it. It looks so ethereal. And then it gave me a message. Of course, this is symbolic because this is an alignment. Everything I do is always synchronistically aligned with what I'm going to share. All of my life is like this. I live as I speak as I live. Everything is always a message. Everything is impregnated with that seed of illumined life in my life. Everything is designed, or therefore destined, through divine lens, right? It's focal and it's focused. So I saw this as a movement of these souls. It's like now the wind of change is liberating us. It's like we're floating on air, and I felt this breeze and freshness and elevation of energy. And I've had my own experience, and for me, the eclipse started being felt last Thursday on, I believe it was the 12th of May. Maybe a day sooner, on Wednesday, the 11th. But that's when I started feeling this upsurge, and something in me, due to the realization that, okay, I might leave at any day possible, but it wasn't so much about leaving, just changing form. And realizing how important it is now for us to create this beloved experience now or never. It's not going to wait for us. And sometimes, when you think of a person that they're there, but you take them for granted, and they're always there. They're always going to be there, you think. But when you start looking at them, that this pull you have maybe towards a specific person or a desired project or something you wish to experience, and you're always postponing it for later. And sometimes Spirit pushes us in mysterious ways and tells us, you're leaving, or that's happening, so you would align with this relaxed energy when you have nothing to lose, when you're all surrendered. And then only then you can be a free floater. And I don't mean it in a weird way, but you're really that energy floating freely on air. Like you're floating through this ethereal nature that we're kind of like getting our grid back. And our grid is the illumined alignment that each soul has been liberated, that there's only like last vestiges of this inception work. And I felt this last wave of all of us who are moving through this wave of change now, is that what's being released is the last levels of any sort of transgression, inception, limitation, self-imprisonment, awareness, and work, consciously working on that to liberate it, always leads you back to the leftovers of that, which made you become either bitter, cynical, closed off, argumentative. That's being released now. It's not the darkness itself, but those last portions of these energies that affected us from not fully being ourselves. Like, I'm going to share more about the ritual I just went through with someone. We did a feminine sisterhood ritual, just sharing and releasing so much of that sharing through our beautiful bond that we share. And I realized how this last, for me, that stubbornness, that child within you that's stubborn, that doesn't want to accept life as an experience and as a human. And so through these patterns, we would act differently, right? And when I shared my full story and my full beloved experience with this other individual who's a precious sister of mine in a way, beautiful child love being, a star being. And it's difficult, right? Because I come from a perspective of being here only once, and I had to master and elevate this human experience super fast. And because I was always in a role of a guide, right? Even in my personal relationships, I would always project a little bit of that guidance onto that relationship. And there was only a few people in my life who really felt me, who knew me in a way, through that bond we share celestially. These beings, through their own triggers towards me, kept reminding me, but you're not just that. Because I have to tell you very specifically, when I was transgressed, I kept on hearing the words, you're just the guide, you're just the guide. You're never going to be happy here. You're never going to be fulfilled. You're never going to have friends. You're never going to have a beloved. And all these things kept me in the stagnant mode, right? Remember once I shared the story with you, how with someone, when I accessed back into the past timeline, and my family guided me into this timeline, they said, we're going back to the past now. And I saw this person holding a sign saying, hey, love you, question mark, I'm here, just to love you. And my sign, guess what it said? It said no trespassing. And I realized, because this dark invasion, this transgression wanted to claim me, and it claimed all of me, my emotions, my feelings, my body, everything. And it was the worst kind of rape you can imagine. But what we also experienced, and what was revealed to me time through time when I was unveiling the web, and we share this today in our conversation and ceremony, it's how darkness worked so hard to, even before, let's say, you would meet a beloved or you would meet an important aspect of yourself, it kept working on us to create these experiences for us that were very negative. Because you have to know, when you meet someone who, let's say, is a light soul, is the soul of the light, but they have an inception that's like an overlay around them through which they can no longer access their true self. With people who actually have darkened souls, whose souls have literally actually darkened, it's different, because it's not about the inception, it's their own soul already. It's not in alignment, and it's not illumined translation moving through that soul. So I realized how in my own life, before, let's say, I would meet someone, darkness worked very hard to give me the experiences with men that were very faulty, were very negative, men who like forced themselves upon me, men who would like, once I was kissed without my consent, for example. And you know, all these things that as a woman in this physical body, like for me, it was almost like a mini trauma to experience, because you know, for those of us who are very light intelligent, we immediately go up, right? And we always see the higher perspective. But I told you times and times over that just having the higher perspective doesn't shift our human experience. So today we had the talk, the conversation with this beautiful being that I appreciate and value so much, because she called me out as well. And she said to me, you know, I was always watching your videos for years, and you were so right in alignment, but you were also in a way harsh sometimes with the way you said things. And I asked myself, is she not wounded? Is that all there is about her? Is that it? And no, of course it's not. Look, I was transgressed. I had the worst phenomena happen on me. But my wounding was never unconscious. That's the difference with me and most people. And that's the reason why I could help them and do numerous amounts of session work throughout these 10, 11 years of my life after my awakening. I was consciously wounded. I always, you know, it wasn't a wounding that would be, I would unconsciously act, but I was still acting sometimes by pushing these triggers out. But each time I was aware of it. Because most people who are wounded unconsciously, they don't know what they're doing and why they're a certain way, or why they're holding on to things that are not for them. Like holding on tightly to a relationship that it's not your soulmate, it's not your beloved, and you will never ever have that. And it's like not coming into terms with that. And now this energy is just creating this push when we're realizing the desires, like our desires are being opened up, activated, and elevated. And a lot of us, due to totally letting go of everything, I had to let go of everything, even my human life. And perhaps some people that meant the most to me. I had to say partial, temporarily goodbye to many people on my path, because I saw they had to walk a certain trailblazing part of their path alone. And it was hard. It's always hard. But like I told you in the previous video, I always worked in a way that I always knew what I was doing. I was always guided. And that was my difference. I didn't carry baggage from previous lifetimes. And that's what I was able to use my gift willingly, but also intuitively through higher intelligence, because I was aware of things. That's why I was the one, right, doing work with others. But in a way, I had to simultaneously see how I'm also affected. And this didn't happen. You know, my self-healing was put on halt until transgression, because I had so much guidance, preparation work to do. Because a lot of people I once left behind, I then had to first, you know, set myself free. I had to awake and liberate myself first, and then coming back to them as already freed being, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to. If we're all just living a life status quo, and it wouldn't be the same. I had to be alone all these years to now be able to see what the beloved is, and it was a personal experience. But it wasn't a physical experience for me. It was always a higher experience to which I always connect to. I'm always in that union with the mission contemporary beloved. But it didn't become a physical human experience for me at all until 2020, yeah, that year. And it shook me, right? And that's what I shared with you. My team said, oh, the return of the beloved. And I thought it was just the feeling in me, but they said, no, it's also the experience. And it is a counterpart experience, right? That infinity looping between the two. And it did shook me, but it also changed me. Because of that, I had to go through many stages of realizing, you know, seeing what all darkness did to not make me see. Like, for example, I need to share this very important thing with you. Let's say before I met someone very close and very important in my life, at that same year, I never met a lot of people in my life, but that year, that was 2011, I met so many people, like beforehand, before meeting them. And it was like, and it was all to distract me and to make me be energetically intruded, right? To create, for darkness to create these energetic blockages and intrusions, you know, because we talked about this today with my friend, and she was saying how darkness worked through her, through inception, and also physical hijacking through someone's hands, someone that kept putting their hands on her, and there was literally darkness sending energies into her and into her womb. So that later resulted in her changing her sexual behaviors, and she knew that's not pure and that something was messed with there, right? And all of us who are in the beloved path, you have to know this is the most powerful path you can be on. Because this love, this beloved love, is the ultimate, this true love that many people dream and wish for. But those who know this journey know it's hard because of the world and realm we live in. And it's not easy to move beyond limitations. It's not easy to recognize BS and replace it with the truth and with the intelligence of love. And for me personally, I always had knowledge. I always was with the truth, but didn't always have the physical human body intelligence, right? I had a lot of energetic shield around me. For example, if a man is not awake, he's fully asleep, he's not intuitive, they would not detect the shield because they're so dense they couldn't sense a fly flying around them, right? It's just a term I use now. But someone who's intuitive, they would feel, so they would not approach you, and it would be kind of like always like pull back a bit, because it's literally your shield like putting them away and putting them off. And that was for me a part of the wounding that transgression created. It wasn't myself or my own wounding, but it was this realm that gave me an imprint of I'm not accepted, I'm always different, I know too much. It's not good to know too much. You're never going to be someone's friend because they're always going to think you're weird. You can just be the guide and the rest, leave it, right? And this button, this lie, this incepted lie for me was played for years, right? And I had to literally see it. But throughout my years now doing this healing, I unlocked so many veils, and literally I was returning to a softer and softer version. It's not just the version of me, it's the true self, core of me and my own divine nature of not just being divine feminine in spirit, but embodying that which truly is the essence of the divine feminine. And it's not just knowing, but it's a profound intelligence of receptivity. And doesn't mean now you need to always be on the receiving end. No. Divine feminine sacred receptivity is when you're receiving life. And because of that, you're all-knowing. Not because of information put in your head or your brain, whatever. But your connection to life, your compassionate connection to being alive, to all the elements, all that surround you in this present moment, is the ultimate beloved connection. And that's the link through which also you with your counterpart, you will together connect. You're going to not just connect your individual source, you, your higher self, they're their higher self, but in a way, in that spiral motion, in the Christ connection of the golden union, right, which is Illumined Union, you will create a trinity, and you will also connect together with your unique individual merging, a plug-in into source, God of all living creation, divine mother creatrix, right, of all life. And so going again back to these traumas, and I don't know how many of you have seen my video, Sexual Trauma and its Impact, right, for transgression work and needing to liberate that. We've all had it. Like for me, right, as a light being coming here on this planet for the first time, for the first years of my life, I was so ashamed of my body. I didn't want to be naked. Now I'm loving it. I can't wait, it's hot enough. I just put all my clothes off by somewhere in the river beach, somewhere in the mountains. I just love it. But it was a lot of things. Some things were just naturally for me, but some things were incepted. And a lot of these inceptions played with us. They played with our minds. And until we really owned our bodies, right, this energy can be impactful in your life, can influence you. And the moment your illumined intelligence can come and pour into your body, you will see there's no more fear or fear of surrender or projections, because you're so rooted in your body now. The challenging part for me was actually because I was always the guide. So let's say if I was triggered, I would always add up for that, a withdrawal of something. Let's say there would be an argument. I would be acting overly pushy and being always the guide and always explaining things and argumenting things, even though let's say I was right, okay, for example. But still, I was overdoing it. I was dropping off those bombs. And some people have the opposite, they withdraw. Like for example, with my friend, she said she was the opposite, like she would not express. And many people have that, it's in reverse. And until these masculine feminine balances are first met within us, and us to see what are distortions, what are inceptions, how can we be in those partnerships when you can literally sit with someone, you're looking in each other's eyes and you're in that tantric embrace, and all you feel is mutual respect, adoration, and feeling of life pulsating through both of you, first individually and then together in the Trinity, right? 2 as 1 is 3. And now these liberations of these stubborn aspects, and I had to meet stubborn inner child aspects of myself when I was pushing things or certain truths away because they did not somehow align with my visual or ideal of something, right? And I couldn't see things through. So today I talked to my friend and she said, you know, I was on earth a long time, and being on earth you learn patience and a gradual development, and because of that we're all star beings having a physical experience, those who are not young earth evolving soul types, but we are starborn. That's what we resonate here, and usually people like that find me and resonate with me in my heart and my truth with Aurea's wisdom. Is that, you know, she said on earth we kind of are frustrated, and a part of our suffering is just because here everything is so slow and it takes so long to heal, to come into balance, to come into equilibrium. But now what I'm feeling is all the seeds. This is the year, I've never had this before, but 2022, mark my words, right? And it was Friday 13th that I first felt this huge shift. Not just for myself, but for many others I talked to at that specific point. We were all shifting simultaneously, guys. It was like a collective shift, and all the people were just opening up their communication channels, finally going beyond the arguments, beyond the withdrawals, like, you know, I'm not going to talk to this person because such and such. And these barriers, or either our insecurities or feeling self-conscious, or just feeling different and not understood, that make us always withdraw, you know, they are kind of being cleared now. And those were the energy seeds I saw today through the pollen, right? Golden energy moving through the winds and the ebbing and flowing through the ethers. Wow, what an amazing thing to witness, guys. And it's just, today is the third day. So it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And we're just before the eclipse. And it's like, I don't have the words. But usually, right, there would be illumination and the energy would be very dark and so much darkness, but it feels like it's been cleared. It's now things finally coming to the surface, and we're always catching corridors of light and gateways. So one thing specifically, right, I knew I needed to do last week. I got guidance, and it was a pull, and I was by the river beach, and I had to do something. And then I asked Aurea, because that's the only being I truly trust is Aurea. I said, so in a few days or after eclipse, because it's intense now, I would share this, you know. And she's like, no, today. I'm like, no, and I was really scared. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna push the button, and no, I can't do this, you know. It was like, you have to know, for advanced intelligence, everything has to be in perfect alignment and timing, because it was foreseen that this would be the right movement or motion of energy that would already, by the time of this eclipse, integrate the energies. And we'd all have that, many of us have had these powerful releases, like things left unsaid, things that were lingering within us, you know, like my friend said she needs to, for example, write this letter to someone, or, you know, like just things we've had held within, and now they're coming up because it's time. And these energetic barriers, that's what transgression is, right? They kept us from not doing that. And it was hard for us, but time wasn't aligned. But the seeds were all planted. That's what they told me recently. All will be fine. Everything will go as planned. The only step now for us is projecting this light of illumination into unions to occur. And it will be different scenario, different story for each person. And when I talked about physical ascension, you know, in the new realm, you have to know eventually all of us will get there. We're just going to have different stories. And for many beings, I see a story of coming together with our beloved, our physical human counterpart, and then we're actually, through our own timeline, we're going to move there together. But when you ask me how will that look, I don't know as a human. I just know what I receive, and it's the knowing, it's the longing, it's the pull. But until our earth selves are fully healed, and then also not just healed, it's not for us, oh, we've done our healing, now we're gone. They also need fulfillment. They keep using the word now, complete self-fulfillment, and it's not indulging in, you know, things that make you, you know, just be selfish, greedy just for yourself. No, the self-fulfillment that is a part of your soul plan. And those of you who've always felt this calling, and some of you have been doing work for years, some haven't, some have just stepped into the energy and they just managed to catch the wave. But I've been seeing this right now, something specifically that I worked on for the last 2 years finally is culminating, and I can't believe, I'm just overjoyed. I'm so happy, I can still hardly believe it. I'm like, because this meant so much to me. And you know, until we see results, human level, it's hard. Sometimes we don't believe it's actually happening. So in today with my friend, we talked about how earth needs that patience. And with me, through every session I ever had with any individual, with any being, every pain push that I released through my body, my compassion for this human experience was growing, and I wasn't just Polona having a human experience and making videos and talking about my life, and it wasn't just Aurea, a higher being intelligence speaking through me as well, but I'm a merge of both too, and that's the union, that's the illumined divine union. And imagine now the next step being for us to experience this with our counterparts. Imagine if you yourself already feel that blissful and elevated, how amazing and gorgeous it is when two beings can meet with that love. And at this final threshold, I wish to talk about something very simple that my family of light addressed recently, and it was the integrity aspect, the integrity for the union, right? So we always talk about integrity as that which makes us fully aligned with our truth. But it's not just that. We always say when you're aligned with the truth, then you're in integrity. Oh, hi, Bee. I have a bee here. You want to say hi to the video? No, she said hi to my leg. I'm going to show you. Look. See the bee? Hey. I'm the queen bee, so bees always love me. They always fly towards me. Plus, I smell good today. I put some sunscreen, like coconut tea on, and I'm embracing the summer. It's so warm, and it's, you know, it's a rarity. We've never had this beautiful month of May before as this year. It was always raining the last 2 to 3 years. So the topic of integrity, okay? We always say when you're in line with your truth and you're acting like this, physically demonstrating that truth, then you're in integrity. Words, actions, feelings, all aligns, that's integrity. But my family of light spoke about it from a higher intelligence perspective, and they said that integrity for union is actually a combination of a divine masculine and a divine feminine way of expressing. So in one of the sessions I channeled this, and it's very simple, but sometimes we don't think about things being so simple and yet so important, right, for our progress and evolution and ascension. They said that the true illumined integrity is when the masculine integrity, which is the honoring of your own truth, aligned with your true self, and the feminine integrity, which is the allowing, right, allowing for that receptivity of spirit, which is also guidance, right? And it's a vulnerability of receiving. And when both of them meet, the truth and that love, that's when you have true Trinity aspect of integrity. And they said that's the integrity coming from union. So all of my life, everything I've ever created, every painting, every poem, every story, every video, every higher teaching I have created, and, you know, was the lectures and Patreon that basically became Illumined training, right? Materials, all were created from a union. But what my mission counterpart recently showed me is, if there is to be a union on Earth with the physical Earth counterpart, they said, the mission counterpart has to step aside. So it wasn't put into me through words, but he showed me like he now has to step aside, and that created a wider circle. And in that circle, I, as a physical human self aspect here that I'm birthing, you know, when I said that's the feminine that's birthing and creating a union, and then the masculine comes as a shooting arrow of impregnating that and just aligns with that, and then again creates the integrity of union, right, through their merging of their tantric union in togetherness. But until they're both in their own integrity, aligned in their own lives, they can't meet fully. They can work on it, they're healing, they're progressing, they're evolving. But when you fully meet in that tantric union and the tantric embrace is when both of their selves, lives and realities align with that, and they can create a new powerful Trinity-based reality through which we will all eventually ascend together. Mostly through coupledom, and like I said, like our counterparts who are those in the new, they're pulling us, they're all telling us where we need to be, who we need to be with, they're showing us. And now this is becoming rather obvious, but because of all the transgression, inception, and our own beliefs as a result of all of that, all the heaviness for some souls that they've been piling up for lifetimes, or for example, inceptions, that fake forced lifetimes that were put into the record bank memory of many of these souls that were not true. So they believe they've done something wrong, but they haven't. It was an inception. They pulled back. They actually were reserved from experiencing this true love and opening up. And when you're closed off for a specific amount of time, literally you cut off your tantric energy flow, and that eventually, for souls who are divine beings or intelligence, it eventually makes us sick, because we are born that way. We are naturally aligned with source. We need to channel energy always in the real timing, which is now. And when the energy keeps on building towards the surface and you have this lid cover, right, it does like this, eventually there's going to be so much pressure that will create a powerful, painful trigger point. And that's been the hardest work, right? Following the traces of those energies through the body to find the location of inception. And I was doing that work for 3 years, and it was many layered, because as human beings we have 4 lower bodies: physical and elemental body, emotional, mental, and astral. And all of these had to be not just purified but also brought together into one, so that through these bodies, as a result of all this inception, there were many barriers that existed, right? So it was just this body, then a barrier, the next one, and this sort of cut off living, that you're not aligned with your full self, creates a densification of these barriers, and they're no longer acting as fine membranes so that the energy can bleed through, because all your 4 lower bodies, they have to converge, they have to communicate with one another, because that's what intelligence is. All layers have to be seamless and transparent. When they're not, right, the other thing happens, and it's going to be like a blockage point, and the energy will build a huge reserve of the reverse of all of your divine potential. That's what darkness does, that your own divine potential of life force becomes distorted and reversed, and it will negatively affect you when you're in your physical embodiment. And that's a very hard thing and a trick that only advanced intelligent beings know how it's being done, and that's why they're using all this offering of help and assistance. And I've been doing so many rebirthing sessions for many souls who wanted to birth their new higher aspects in their physical experience, so they would actually experience the union eventually. This was the gift, right? But for me, I always thought, well, I'm only here for that reason and that's it, and then I'm gone. But Spirit said, no, you also need your own fulfillment. And that kind of made me feel, taken aback, because that's also new for me. So there are aspects of me that needed to take this into account, that it's okay for me to just have my own human, beloved experience, that I don't cut myself off it, I'm off of it, because it does leave me in a space of unfulfillment. And remember when I shared that ascension will only happen when there's going to be an absolute fulfillment in this realm. Remember, my team told me, they said, what happens in this realm determines the next. So every union story that will come together through all the trials, obstacles, tribulations, being put apart or being kept in separation, maybe for some for years, when it comes together, that final moment of attainment, we're just looking at each other, and you're laughing, and you're laughing at all the dark, and you're showing them your, fingers, and you're doing what I call my FU dance. I call them, I'm going to show you my Aurea. I'm going to show them my Aurea's finger, Aurea is very feisty. And I've just had so much overjoying feeling that, no, Aurea and all the team were more intelligent than these effers, because they tried so hard to keep these souls binded and bound to era of darkness, and it just doesn't work anymore. I'm seeing this now, this pollen impregnating all the lands and beautifully flowing, and I'm just overjoyed that now finally look, a white butterfly that's always a huge one too. Wow, I've never seen this big one. Is this white butterfly? I always tell you, it's a Holy Spirit message for me. It's like how I see, and I was through God always seeing Holy Spirit as a symbol with white butterflies. So for me, when I see it, it's always a yes, right? It's confirmation. And I've gotten specific guidance on things that are only now becoming true. I've seen snippets, and I had premonitions only about specific things in my life, and only now in 2022 I'm seeing the realization of these things happening. And it's kind of scary, and I told this to my friend today, that to be the one that always knows, that foresees, who is always that guide that has an entire group and pulling them up into elevating themselves, it's also hard for you. And I said to my friend, how can I be at the same time in this role that's a temporary role as a guide, as an Illumined guide, but at the same time have my own just human, personal, beloved experience? It's hard, right? Because you've seen things, you know things, and at the same time, knowing sometimes prevents us from having a full experience, right? It's almost like you've cheated your way out of having a full experience. So that's kind of where I am now, and just allowing Spirit to take away all that need to know. I've seen snippets, I've had premonitions, but the way things are coming up, they're telling me it's a mystery and only God knows. And that's the beauty. When you're truly a refined being, remember, when you're really awake, fully awake, you know that what you know, and the intelligence always shows you. But there's elements we're not supposed to know as humans, because our human experience has to be full rounded and fully felt. We can't cheat ourselves out of it through the mind. You know, someone recently said to me, yeah, we have to be like this and our relationship has to be like that, you know, in order to function. I'm like, how can you know? You know, how can you determine it so much with the mind? Why can't you just let go and let God tell you what it's supposed to become? Potential is felt by you, but God is that force behind. And that's the inner God, right? The God in you. Not an outside figure or a, you know, force. But it's the force of all omnious presence that moves through us individually and uniquely. But your heart always knows and the body knows. But the mind is always trying to rationalize and say, yeah, but it has to be like this, and only way, that way I can maybe surrender. And that's not even surrendering, that's conditionality. It's called conditionality. So when people are put into situations in their life that feel safe and comfortable, it's because we have patterns. If you feel safe in a specific environment with a person or condition, but there's no growth anymore, it's just, it is what it is, and you're not thriving, you're not really exploding like a supernova every day, then it's most definitely not your path. But our patterns make us choose that because it's safe. Because there's still, in all of us, I'm not excluding myself, but in all of us, there's these fears. But what if it can be that beautiful? What if it can be that gorgeous? What if I can have all? And a lot of us think that there's going to be ascension, just as ascending of the self, alignment with the self. But no, God thought of everything. There will also be a beloved union. Remember when I was told this, that ascension is preset or predated with the beloved experience. They told me the beloved is the ascension, and they even showed me. Actually, I want to reveal this now towards the end of this video, that the new realm is actually what my own counterpart told me. He said the new realm is the realm of the beloveds, and this is where we're actually going to all be together fully with our counterparts, and we're going to let's say, let me talk about this first. So a lot of us, and I've seen this, right? Those who are volunteer souls, many of them came to claim aspects, they were fragmented aspects of their own oversoul or their grouping, right? So there were aspects that were kind of entrapped. So without pulling these aspects, we couldn't feel the full beloved experience. So a lot of, let's just call it in simple terms, people came for their people. We came to claim our family. That's what I was doing for so many years, you know, aside my own work. And that was the same. My work was the work for the whole. So for example, I say to someone, I'm going to do this release work. I always have been doing things not just for myself. It's always for all, because of the beingness that I am. I work with that wide scope influence, right? And so with this new realm, when I was shown is there's like going to be this harmonious union, but it's actually preconditioned with us having these physical human unions now. And a lot of us think sometimes in terms of, it's not possible in this realm. This world is too dense. It's too harsh. It's not possible. So we're already limiting ourselves, setting ourselves up to a fall. Why do we do that? Again, transgression, inception. No one wants to see this who is of dark. Trust me, what God showed me, and he even told my mom with words, that what one coupledom of the union of two people who have utter unconditional adoration and acceptance and not just respect, but mutual feeling of life, feeling life together in every aspect, it causes a powerful ripple effect, just like this pollen, right, moving through the ethers, ebbing and flowing. And that is why there's no more powerful force than the force of love. And that love is the beloved. And not all beings you might know in the physical life have chosen this beloved path. But most people that I do know that have, they've always had this feeling of this love. They always were very empathic, very sensitive. They were very loving beings. But many of them were also pushed through karmic conditions into situations of their life that felt like they're more numbing them down. Or it's like, that's all I will get in this life. That's all I can get. That's all I'm choosing. It's almost like this belief that why can this physical life on earth be a fairy tale? Let's say you meet someone and they're the beloved, but you're so afraid of maybe losing it or being too perfect, or, you know, the unknown, that fear of the unknown, that you would rather not choose it. But what if choosing it brings you to the next step? And for all of us, again, I'm speaking, that is just something we wouldn't, with our minds, we can't grasp on at this point. We can't imagine until we take the next step. And each step we've been taking so far has been bringing us to a deeper unveiling and a next epiphany. Oh, because with what the mind does, it's presetting the conditions for somewhere there in the future, and it's acting from a place of fear and not surrendering, because what if this and that happens as a consequence, right? As a result, sometimes even as a tower moment in my life when I choose this or that. So a lot of souls are still afraid of choosing or taking the next step. But the heart always is there, and it's always bringing them back to that choice until they choose that timeline, that newness, and acting out. Because again, one thing is wishing for something, the next thing is to creating it. All masters create. So the brave ones will now come into unions or start coming. You know, there's still work to be done. I'm not saying it's all done. And partially when I was crying in a beautiful way yesterday after so much reveal on that Friday 13, I felt this feeling like my home union, right, that always is with my mission counterpart. It's always there, and it's so easy, and you know, it's someone who just always knows you. Someone you don't have to defend yourself to or explain yourself to. It's just sameness, you know. It's that constant knowing and feeling of each other. But then on earth, right, union is difficult to create sometimes, you know, when we're doing the healing work and the moving beyond barriers of limitation and to liberate ourselves and the union that we're choosing for ourselves. It takes work. And I was crying because I'm like, oh, but it's so simple there, but here's work. And I'm already always working, not just for my own union, but like they told me, God said that my union will be very important for many, many unions to come. Because it is, you know, acting from that hub station of that illumined intelligence, and it will just spread out like wildfire, like today, right? Again, I keep seeing this pollen, like, probably gonna go to bed tonight just seeing it, like, pollen. It's just wanting to impregnate itself now, and a lot of us are feeling this high rise, high elevation, and high potential at this point. So that's just my message. I don't want to come across as too long today. That's really from my heart space I wanted to share with you, with all of you. The ceremony we did today, we thought it's going to be a specific ritual, but just talking, just sharing our full selves and our stories, you know. And then when women in their sisterhood, we meet, we assist our counterparts, right, the beloveds that are masculines, and it's just naturally happening as a response of an energetic exchange and the dynamic that is basically following the principle, if you act with love, only love can result out of it. And a lot of us haven't always been acting out of love because we had those pushes and triggers of the dark. But when you're with someone who really sees you and you tell them, look, this happened, do you see me? They will see that that was not you. And the reason why it was so difficult for so many of us is because we acted in ways that was not us. And each time it hurt our own heart. Because these transgressed energies and inceptions and false beliefs made us act as a false persona. And you know, when people say, oh, that's a false person, don't mingle with them, oh, that's a narcissist, you know, remember that saying. True compassion is saying, even I can have traits of narcissistic behavior, or, you know, I can be repressed psycho or whatever. We all have elements that if you don't walk the path of moderation and self-mastery through awareness and doing the healing, not just like intellectually, but for your inner child in your body, then we all can go that way. Maybe not in extremities than certain people do, but remember, have compassion. Everyone can be a victim of victim mentality, or, you know, a forced mentality, or, you know, just something that's not in unity. And we've all blattered out words that were toxic or harsh, but we needed to also to witness those parts of us, to heal them, to see that they're coming from energetic barriers and self-notions, and carrying ourselves not truly from our womb up. And what I explained in the recent sexuality, right, sexual trauma video, that I myself birthed a huge distortion through me. It was related specifically with one person. It has nothing to do with the person, but the distortion created as that falsehood. And imagine living your life in your body having incepted energies, and everyone had of the star family. Because darkness, remember, works through hands. You've all been with people who are not fully loving. Different ways, different relationship types or dynamics. But we've all been fed that which is not of love. And either came through touch, through words, whatever. And it just incited and ignited these beliefs in us that we're not good enough, that we can't have this, that we don't deserve this. But now this healing that the eclipse is bringing us, and again, it's a huge transformation because of the Scorpio. It's revealing so much of that. So we need to look into these traits that still we're carrying ourselves from our falsehood. Where are you still not being in your own integrity? And remember, that is the meeting of your feminine and the blending with the masculine. The alignment of yourself in the truth of your being, your true being, which is the masculine self, and the true receptivity through love in vulnerability that is the feminine self. Only that way, by joining that, you're truly in the integrity that is illumined integrity. So mark my words, remember those words, contemplate on those words, but mostly welcome yourself into this new space. Do your healing, take time for yourself, reflect, meditate, give yourself love, shower yourself with love, because the beings now, this higher intelligence, I've seen them, they worked so super hard, not just those of us physically here, but they've worked tirelessly nonstop day and night to create these openings for the unions. And when I was doing my oracles, you know, and not just telegram readings, I do some readings that are more sacred. I just did in my aloneness recently. All the cards were so good. All of a sudden, it was all about bringing closer, fast shifts. And I'll tell you, amazing, really amazing. And remember, through our healing and acceptance of ourselves and the other as we are now, remember, we exist in real time, and not conditioning what was and what maybe will be, but just allow yourself for your story of union to unfold. And all of you with this ever longing depth in you, this deep love, do you really think that you only have this love just for yourself? No, remember the story of the book of love, Libro Rosso, right? Sarah, Jesus' daughter, who wrote it. There's a saying in that book that God always creates in divine coupledom. God creates as divine couples. God, Goddess, as extensions, mirrors of itself. And that when you have a longing for this love, that longing is not to be not fulfilled. That longing is placed there by God, none other than the spark of the divine. And some of us already know who the beloveds are, some of you might not, but either way, don't doubt and hesitate that the union is here, and it's being proliferated through your inner acceptance, your inner work, and all that you do in the name of love. All the liberation work, and life force openings, elevation, and witnessing yourself and these distortions so that true self can come through. Okay, my loves, I think I'm ready to finish. I'm feeling a little over energized because I was talking all day, so it's time for some solitude and quietude. I hope you will have a beautiful eclipse experience wherever you are, that it's not too dramatic or, you know, intense. I haven't been sleeping this whole week, but I always say, it is what it is. So I want to show you one stone. You know which one is the closest to me, my elven stone? Do you know this sign? I think it's called Amar, and it's love. So that's the elven symbol of love. Of course, it's all pollinated. Polona, well, Polona, right? And pollen, wow. Oh, so pollen is my masculine version. Polona, pollen. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for, you know, just being with me in all my silliness, my goofiness, as well as all my awareness and knowledge. It's always the same. With love, wisdom, and with power. Until we meet again. Mwah. Bye for now.
Come into